Riot and Flite Test, they're continuations of that same mentality. I mean, people, ask me a lot, what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to go after with this? And it's like, I'm not trying to go after anyone. I'm trying to reveal something that's there and, let people that wouldn't normally have a voice, share their thoughts and opinions, whether it's about a product, an approach, society, collaborations, whatever it might be. It's just a rarity that happens because so many people want to tell you what to think. So many people want other people to think like they do, where I very much like to hear other people, because I think the real truth is when you can take 100 people from around the world, different cultures, and hear the through line. When you can meet somebody from Cambodia and Ukraine and 3 different states in the United States, and somehow underneath all of them and who they are, there's this common through line, you start to reveal a bigger truth. And I think that's just so interesting.
And I think those are the cornerstones of the success of both Flite Test and Rotor Riot. It is very viewer inspired.
Well, absolutely. I mean, both of them are inclusive. It's different approaches completely, but the idea and concept behind it is, when we interact with people, are they left with some kind of inspiration, some kind of education, or is there something to cause them to want to connect? And that's the common through line that you'll see in every project that I'm involved in.
Absolutely. It's very approachable for everyone. And I tell you, when I was in my formative years of aerial photography, Flite Test was my wheelhouse. I can't tell you how many of your videos I watched, how many times I studied what Eric had built. You guys have really touched more people than you realize. I mean, of course, Flite Test, 500,000 plus subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
But to touch back on what you said earlier about finding that common thread, I think Flite really is that common thread. If you look through societies, it doesn't matter what continent, what time period, we all dream of flight.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't know why, but yeah, I do as well. And I think you're right. I mean, the great thing about this hobby and the sport is, I mean, you can have a doctor, a mechanic, an accountant, somebody that works in a factory, like just any type of person can all be on that flight line.
And it's multi-generational too. It's not just limited to one age group. I try to say that FPV is it's the great equalizer.
It really is. And I think that's amazing. And I think anytime we can, I think in general, if there's anything I try to do as a mission personally, it's to bust those bubbles. It's we all get trapped in our little bubble or our rut, and then you die. I mean, it's, and I think living is getting outside of your bubble. And something like this causes people to connect that would not normally connect. Their bubbles would not normally cross. So I think, if there was anything I was really trying to do, it's just to burst those bubbles and to get people, get them outside to play,
Absolutely. We all need to get outside a little bit more. And I tell you personally, after I watch a Rotor Riot episode, I got to go out and fly. I have to. It's so inspiring, and it's not only the visual message, it's not only the emotion and the energy that you get from the Fab Four, but it's the total package. It's the music score. It all comes together, and it creates an upbeat, positive feeling that, you literally have to go out and fly. It's not, I want to go out and fly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just watched Tommy dive through Dugga. I have to go out and fly. And
yeah, I think that comes from just all the passion. I mean, we'll develop kind of like show templates because we find what works. Like, we know that if we cook food in the kitchen and don't show any flying, that doesn't work.
Sorry, Chris. First person breakfast doesn't work.
No, I mean, we thought it was fun, but we have a different view from behind the camera, so we want to make the stuff that the audience finds fun and really enjoys and inspired by. And so we learn that stuff. We learn kind of the different show formats, and we templatize the structure of that. But everything else is just very much shoot from the hip. It's like what feels right, what feels like we should approach this topic or that, and we ask the audience, and we communicate daily on our Facebook group, and we want to hear the things they want to explore, and then we want to go explore those things and share it with the audience.
Well, that brings me to Chernobyl then, because
Okay.
that, I tell you, when somebody posted that idea on the Facebook page, you could feel the buzz. You could just feel it, because Chernobyl, for all of us, it's a part of our childhood history growing up. But more importantly, for this newer generation, think of how many of them in video games have ran through that bumper car area, have ran around that Ferris wheel. It was a very close connection for them, and I think a lot of people would like to know more about how that happened.
Well, we will cover it more. We're going to have more episodes coming, and one of the episodes I want to be like a 30-minute documentary
Excellent.
about our experience. And that one's going to take a little while, so it might be a month or two before that one comes out. But we'll also have a couple other Ukraine episodes that aren't just Chernobyl focused. But that came about. I mean, I always wanted to go. Steele always wanted to go. And one day we were just talking about it. And, he's like, we get approached a lot by, I'll just call them TV people. What happens? Let me take a little side jaunt here because it's frustrating and I'm going to vent. So what happens is I have TV people call me, and then what they do is they pitch me this concept you can tell they're passionate and excited about it. And they say, yeah, what we want to do is we want to take these influential pilots, and we want to go to, we want to go around the world and have them fly in interesting locations. And, and it's really more about, kind of their interaction and, the FPV lifestyle. And I'll be like, you mean like Rotor Riot? And they're like, no, it's not just flying videos. And I'm like, have you watched the show? And they're like, yeah, I saw, fill in the blank, and, title that they looked up. And then they go and they continue to pitch the concept of Rotor Riot. And I'm like, okay, so you pretty much want to take what we're already doing and you want to put it on TV and give us a lot less control. And that's pretty much what I get pitched every week. And so anyhow, Steele and I were discussing this, and somebody had pitched to him, hey, we could take you anywhere in the world you want to go. Where would you want to go? And he said Chernobyl. And I'm like, well, I want to go to Chernobyl. Why don't we just go? And he's like, can we do that? And I said, well, why can't we? I said, the only thing we have to do is run it by the community, and if they're in for it, then let's do it. And so we posted where would you like to see us go? I think it was UK, Australia, Chernobyl. And it was overwhelmingly Chernobyl.
Oh yeah, that poll, Chernobyl crushed it. That was a clear indicator.
Yes. So we said, okay, well, we're going to go. And everybody kept saying, well, how are you going to go? I'm like, I don't know. We'll just keep posting, talking about it, and we'll figure it out. And I mean, the very next day we had people reaching out wanting to help. And most importantly, and I want to give credit to the Ukrainian Association of Drone Racing. Alexei and Ilya are the ones pushing this forward, but this is their kind of drone league association in Ukraine, and they're just doing amazing things over there. And they reached out to us, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really know them or anything, but we kept communicating for about 6 weeks prior to us going over. They ended up lining up everything. They took care of the permits. They got us a good place to stay. They rode along with us the entire time we were there and took care of us. And anytime they felt like we were not having a good time or something, they were taking care of it. And it was just amazing. I would love that to be a template to where we go to other countries and do that, and visit with their local, I guess, what would you call it, their local community for FPV, and have fun.
And I tell you, that's the magic of FPV. To touch back on that previous statement about how it connects all of us, just to hear about how those guys acted like your fixers and made sure that you were taken well care of. That's one of the magical aspects of FPV, is how connected we are, and how even in the race groups, you could, and I heard somebody talk about this at the national championships yesterday, how you can be racing against somebody in one race and they're giving you a speed controller in the next one because you burned one out. I mean, that's right. How tight knit we are, and we don't even have to speak the same language to do it.
No, I love that. I mean, there's this community has started, and actually, if I would like to take this as a segue or an opportunity to talk about the mission of Rotor Riot, because I talked about our approach and what's important, but ultimately the mission is to give people a place to claim this is our culture. And that's why the community is so important in everything we do, because Rotor Riot is an opportunity. When you see that logo, where is it? You have it on the TV and up there on the wall. When you see that logo, what that means is this FPV culture. And that's why I don't even associate the text with it, because I don't necessarily want to own it personally. I want the community to grab hold of that and say, this is who we are, this is what we stand for, this is how we function. Because if we don't have that hub that stands for it, it ends up being a bunch of groups that do their own thing and may not communicate. And while that culture will exist in all these groups, what would happen if something didn't exist to pull all that culture together, those common threads, then somebody's going to come in with a bunch of money and just try to shape it and say this is what it should be. And I would much rather give the pilots a voice and for the pilots to say, no, this is what it is and this is what it's going to stay.
Absolutely. This is our world, and it's our responsibility to shape how society sees it, not for society to shape what their idea of it is. Because
exactly, and
their concepts are much different from ours. Their interactions, and this is something I try to tell the people, drone racing and FPV is the biggest community in sport that nobody's heard of.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. We exist in it on a daily basis. It's our existence. So we are of the opinion that everybody knows about it. But when you go out and you talk with people, you find out not many people know about it. But when you start to explain what it is, they get curious, they get hooked, and they want to know more. And that's where that definitely ties directly into what you were saying, where we need to shape the future of our community. We need to shape the future of our sport. We need to be multi-rotor ambassadors. Everyone we talk to, we need to put our best foot forward, have a spare set of goggles so we can always show them what it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's how we change minds, that's how we change hearts, and that's how we get them involved with what we do.
That's so well put. See, that's why I asked you to write that paragraph for our website.
Stop, man. I'm glad my video feed isn't on because I'm blushing like crazy right now. Now, we were watching the Chernobyl episode, my wife and I, and actually to segue real quick, that is one of the awesome things about Rotor Riot, is how it's approachable to a very broad spectrum. People who don't even fly FPV can watch a Rotor Riot episode, watch the guys flying around in a mall chasing balloons, and have a good time.
Right.
So my wife and I were sitting down, we're watching the Chernobyl episode, and afterwards we watched a couple of Steele's vlogs, and we noticed Christian filming in the background. Is he a part of the Rotor Riot film team?
Oh, he pretty much is the Rotor Riot film team. So, yeah, we travel lean and mean. I mean, it's pretty much anymore what got whittled down to. Now, we do have people that help out, especially when we go to the LA area. There's other people. Alex Edit has helped shoot some of our episodes. We've had Brian Doughton, who actually used to work for Flite Test, but he had moved to LA, so he's helped shoot. We've had Michael Iscardo has shot some episodes for us. But for the for the kind of the main core of our production team is me, my son Christian, and the guys, the pilots. We have them, we use their vlog footage, and whatever footage I gather and whatever Christian gathers, and that's pretty much what makes up our episodes.
And the synergy behind the team, I tell you, that's something you really can't fake, and it almost creates, and I know you understand this, it creates a family business mentality.
Oh
And
yeah.
when it comes to family businesses, we hold ourselves to a little bit higher standard because we all work and live together. So we want that final product not only to reflect our abilities, but to reflect our passions.
Well, and I wanted Rotor Riot to be as sincere and transparent as possible. And, what better way to be sincere and transparent than to have your own family, and our name, so closely endorsing and attached to it. And, it's funny because I've had people even approach me on, this is really interesting. And I'm sorry, I'm segueing maybe what seems to be away from the topic, but it's a really interesting dynamic. I want the guys that are on Rotor Riot, I want anybody that's on Rotor Riot to be themselves. And I want them to feel free to express themselves genuinely, which you can imagine not everybody's going to agree with. And for some reason in society, we feel compelled that if somebody doesn't act the way that we think they should, that we have to express that. We have to, or else we're endorsing it. And if we're endorsing it, the world's going to hell, and it's not my approach. It's not how I think. It's not what I believe. So I think it's more important to accept people for who they are and then discuss the differences rather than condemning somebody that thinks differently or acts differently or uses verbiage, differently than what I might. So we have quite the diversity in Rotor Riot in actions and in approach and beliefs, and all of that. And that's one of the things I think makes it great. But yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's very genuine. You don't try to cookie cut anybody into a specific archetype. Steele is drastically different from Chad, who's drastically different from Tommy, who's drastically different from Carlos. Everybody is their own individual, and that gives more power to Rotor Riot because it makes it that much more appealable.
Oh yeah, somebody can relate to at least one of the four pilots.
Absolutely. Well, Rotor Riot's 5 people. Don't count yourself out. You are the wizard behind the curtain, pulling the levers and making things happen. You have to get. You're the 5th Beatle. You honestly are.
Well, thanks. But I think Christian is the 6th because he's had a number of people contact him about his music or, the way he shoots or the way he edits. So it's funny because I would say probably 20% of our audience are filmmakers, so they have an interest in, techniques of editing or shooting or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. I think I definitely agree with you. There's a portion of our community who is just as, if not more, interested in what happens behind the Rotor Riot lens as opposed to what happens in front of it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Actually, that's something that I've often kicked around the idea of starting yet another YouTube channel about, filmmaking techniques or YouTube filmmaking techniques, which is, a little different than what a movie would do.
Absolutely, but still vitally important, especially in our social media age. We see a lot of interaction on the computer, and that's how you really get the market involved, without a doubt.
On behalf of the flight crew, thank you for flying with us, and have a pleasant day.